We got a coach, baby! Let's go!
Strome sauces the Zegras between the legs. Oh my goodness, he's done it again. A big hit after hammering down the wall with McCabe. Carries back over. He's got the puck open on net. Another big hit. Or Suzuki across the front of Ryder. Oh my!
He's got some marvelous hands.
The Cup's going to stay in Vegas. And for the first time, the Golden Knights are Stanley Cup champions.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into a very, very special edition of Face Off here on the IM6 Network and the MI6 Sports Network as we're co-streaming here tonight on that platform. My name is Isaiah Leong, and I am going to be your hockey maestro, your hockey expert, your host for tonight. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, put it in the comment box, and I'll do my best to read your comment live on the air. We're going to talk about a bunch of hockey tonight because we got a lot of great stuff that has transpired both on and off the ice that we got to get into. We're going to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to get into, a preview of Oilers versus Stars Game 4. We're going to talk about some coaching news that has gone on, and then we're going to end the program and call it a night. So make sure you guys grab your popcorn and stay until the end because it's going to be a great show. Let's get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? We had game number 4 tonight between the New York Rangers against the Florida Panthers in Florida. The New York Rangers trying to send a message and trying to take a stranglehold on this best of 7, while the Florida Panthers trying to even up the series against the Rangers and stay alive to live another day. The Florida Panthers come away with a big series victory. They've come away with a big win here tonight. A late overtime goal gets them the victory, and they even up the series at 2 games apiece. And I think first of all, I want to applaud the grittiness of the Florida Panthers because they could have easily quit. I mean, they were down early in this game, and you could have just been like, okay, we're down 2-1. Things are not looking good. We could just quit. We could quit. But they didn't quit. They didn't quit at all. They fought. They got the game into overtime, and then boom, right out of the gate in overtime, a game-tying goal or a game-winning goal to tie the series up. And now we got a series, ladies and gentlemen. We got a series. We got a best-of-7 series between the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers. We got a best of 3 now. 2 games back in New York. The Rangers, they got to bounce back. They got to bounce back. It's a big moment in the history of the New York Rangers, because when you think about the New York Rangers, you think about an illustrious franchise. You think about a franchise with so much freaking history on their side. Yes, they haven't won in a so freaking long, but it's time to get over that hump. And so you got home ice advantage. You got to take advantage and you got to capitalize. But I got to applaud the grittiness, though, of the Florida Panthers. They could have gone away. They could have quit. But instead, they stayed together. They stayed true. And they ended up fighting. And now we got ourselves a great series. So congratulations to the Florida Panthers on winning tonight's game and tying the series up. The other series, game number 4, is tomorrow between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. Game number 4 from Edmonton. The Stars going in to Edmonton in game 3 and taking that game and taking control of that series and now lead the series 2-1. My thoughts on it is, and Connor McDavid labeled that as one of the worst second halves that or second periods that the Oilers have had. And they've had a lot of really bad second periods for some reason, and it's really cost them. And now their playoff lives are on the line. I'm gonna say this is Connor McDavid's biggest game of his career tomorrow night. You got to win this. There's no excuses whatsoever. You go down 3-1 going back to Dallas, it's over. It's a wrap. You got to win this. And we've talked about this being the penultimate moment of Connor McDavid's career, where it's time for him to get over that hump, man. Like, it's time. It's just time for him to get over that hump. It's time for him to break through and win a championship. You've been crowned as the face of the league for so freaking long. But to be the face of the league, to achieve that goal, you got to win a championship. You can't be ringless and be the face of the league. That just cannot happen whatsoever. So tomorrow is Connor McDavid's biggest game of his career. You got to show up, man. You're the leader of the Edmonton Oilers. You got to show up. You got to put the team on your back, and you got to show up and show out and dominate from the get-go. You think LeBron James in a big game, big moment like that would just not be aggressive? Hell no. You think Patrick Mahomes would not be aggressive in a big game like that? Of course not. You gotta be aggressive. You gotta from the first time they dropped the puck, first puck, I think that's what it's called. From opening puck, you gotta take advantage, man. You gotta be aggressive. You gotta be the aggressor. And I did not see that aggressiveness from Connor McDavid in game 3 against the Stars in Edmonton. I was very, very disappointed with Connor McDavid. And now you got to bounce back, like your team's down, but you got to bounce back. This is the biggest moment of your career. You got to bounce back and you got to win, because there's no excuses for Connor McDavid if he loses now. The Dallas Stars, and I've said this before, the Dallas Stars are the weakest number 1 seed in recent history. There's been a lot of number 1 seeds in the history of the National Hockey League, but the Dallas Stars are one of the weakest we've seen. You have the star power. You've got the better forwards. You've got the better defensemen. You've got the better centers. You've got the better goalie on your team. The only advantage that Dallas has over Edmonton is on coaching. But you've got everything else. So you got to take advantage. And that's why this Connor McDavid, this is the game of his career. You got to show up and you got to show out and you got to put your team on your back and tie this series up. Because if you go back to Dallas, down 3-1, it's a wrap. Don't even show up for game 5 at that point in time. So, Connor McDavid, a lot of his career, what his legacy will be defined tomorrow night by how he shows up and what he does. Because if he doesn't show up, if he has a whimper of a game, well then, goodbye, good night, sayonara, Edmonton. But if he shows up, I think Edmonton takes this game and they go back to Dallas, tied series, just like the Panthers and the New York Rangers series. let's get into some off the ice stuff. We got into the big news or the couple games of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's get into some off the ice stuff. The San Jose Sharks, my San Jose Sharks. Yes, I'm wearing a Kraken shirt, but shout out to my boy who gave me this amazing shirt. Just I thought, hockey show. We got to wear some hockey stuff. So appreciate my boy for getting me this hockey shirt. I'm actually going to be in attendance for the 2024 NHL draft in Vegas in the Sphere. So I'll be in attendance for that. I can't wait. But I want to talk about. I do want to talk about the big news of the day, and that is the San Jose Sharks signed their number 3 overall pick from last year, Will Smith, and he's going to be pairing with the presumptive number 1 pick, Macklin Celebrini. Listen, I'm so happy as a Sharks fan. I'm fired up because the Sharks for years have been kind of like the Anaheim Ducks, right? And I don't want to take a shot at the Ducks. They've been one of those teams that have just been floundering down in purgatory for years and years and years, and you're just like, what's going to happen? How can we turn this around? And finally they decided to rebuild, but they were still bad, and there just wasn't any hope. And that's the problem when you're a bad team, is like, you can be bad, you're going to be bad for so freaking long, but at least some of those teams, to get you back to the top, you got to have hope. And the Sharks did not have that. Like, they were a hopeless team. And so, getting Macklin Celebrini was a start. That's why I said, the floodgates opened up, the rain came down, and now, because the Sharks, I mean, nothing good ever happens to the Sharks. So for them to get that number 1 pick was absolutely huge. It was crazy that they even got it, that we're sitting here with the Sharks having the number 1 overall pick, and getting a transcendent talent in Macklin Celebrini. And now you add Will Smith, who is an absolute amazing hockey player. He's tenacious. He's an aggressive goal scorer. And I think with him and Macklin, you're looking at 2 transcendent players on your team. And that's what you need to build a great hockey team, is you got to have transcendent superstar talent. No hockey team is going to even have any chance of winning the Stanley Cup if they don't have transcendent superstar talents on their team. And so when the Sharks got Macklin Celebrini, I was like, yes, that's a great start. Now you add Will Smith to the mix. I think him and Celebrini with William Eklund, I think that's a great trio, and they finally have hope. And it's going to, Sharks fans, go buy your tickets, because you got a great trio, a young trio that can help you and lead you for the next 13 to 15 years. You got your Pavelski, you got your Marlowe, you got your Joe Thornton now. So, and you got this young core that's, ready to burst out and shine. Yes, there's gonna be growing pains, but they've got tons of potential. They got a lot of stardom on their team. And I just think that, this is a great move. And I can't wait to see Smith next to Celebrini. I think they play off each other very, very well. And I really, really think that it's going to be a match made in heaven for Macklin Celebrini as well as Will Smith. Can't wait to see Will Smith next year in the National Hockey League. I mean, if they need to put him in the AHL to start, I mean, why not do it just for his development? But because we're looking long term, right? For the Sharks, we're looking like for the next 3 to 5 years. But I think him and Macklin are absolutely going to be amazing. I think that with Eklund in the fold as well, he's ready for the National Hockey League. I just think it's going to be great for those two. So that's my thoughts on the Will Smith news. Congratulations to Will Smith. Hopefully he balls out in the National Hockey League. Let's get to the big news. The Kraken have a new head coach, and it's a guy that you're probably familiar with, Dan Bylsma, I think that's his name. Former head coach, championship coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is the new head coach of the Seattle Kraken. And for me, my thoughts on this is I like the move just because it's a new voice. It's a guy that's won a championship. He's got a lot of playoff experience. He's also worked with the Kraken AHL team the last several years, so he's familiar with the organization. So he's got the familiarity. He is really good at player development. He's really good. He's won a championship. Like, that's what I asked for the Kraken to take the next step. They needed a coach that has had success in the playoffs, that has won a championship, and for them to bring in Belisma, he was one of those guys that I wanted them to target. And for them to get him, I think it's a great hire for the Kraken. Looking forward to see, maybe not against the Sharks, but to see what the Kraken bring next season. But yeah, man, great, very, very exciting for the Kraken. And then the last coaching news I do want to get into before we end tonight's show. By the way, guys, any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to light up the comment section, and I'll do my best to read your comments live on the air. The last thing I do want to say about the last thing we do want to talk about is the San Jose Sharks. Going back to the Sharks, they are moving on to second interviews. The head coach of the Ontario Reign, Strum, is one of the favorites there for that job, along with Ryan Rashofsky, the assistant coach of the San Jose Sharks. For me, I want Strum because he was the head coach of the Ontario Reign. I think he's ready to be a head coach now in the National Hockey League. And the Sharks, they're like, nobody's saying the Sharks are going to be Stanley Cup champions or contenders next season, right? We're looking for like 2-3 years down the line, and you need to develop this young, tantalizing group that you have with William Eklund, Macklin Celebrini, and Will Smith. And you got to have a guy that can develop them. And Strum has shown in his time coaching the Reign, he's a really good developer of young talent. And so I think he's a guy, the Reign's won championships. He can build that championship culture. He can help foster and develop a young team. I think for me, I want Strum to be the next head coach of the San Jose Sharks. I think he would be an absolute great fit. He can learn with the young guys, and then they can just build together, learn together, and just develop together. And I think for next year, obviously, there will be growing pains, but you can have your growing pains now. But I think Strum is an extremely bright coach. I think he's a very, very innovative coach. And I just think that with him and then all this, combine his brain power, combine it with all that young talent, I think it's going to be a start of something special. So that's the coach that I want for the Sharks. I don't want anybody from inside the organization because it's been really bad the last several years. Get some new ideas from outside the organization. Get Strum, who is one of the best coaches in the AHL, and I think that you will be all set. So that's my thoughts on that. But guys, it's been a great show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I know it's a late night abrupt edition of Face Off, but just wanted to get this show out there because there's been a lot going on in the National Hockey League. But guys, it's been a great show. Appreciate everything. Stay tuned. We're going to probably have another show next week once the Stanley Cup Finals are finalized. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next week on another edition of Face Off.
Sauces the Zegras between the legs. Oh my goodness, he's done it again. A big hit after hammering down the wall with McNabb. Carries back on it. He's got the puck open on net. Another big hit. Forces out across the front of stop by Robert. Oh my!
He's got some marvelous hands.
The cup